started its life as a teacher, a simple, unassuming trainer jet meant to give rookie pilots their wings. But then the war came, and it was forced to become a fighter. But its story didn't end there. Fate had a much bigger plan. It went from being a weapon for the United States and South Vietnam to becoming a trophy for the other side. And in a stunning twist, that trophy was turned back into a weapon this time, for the winners to fly a mission so audacious, it made history. This is the incredible story of the Cessna A-37 Dragonfly, the plane that fought for both sides and delivered the final dramatic blow of the war. As communist-backed insurgencies spread across Southeast Asia in the early 1960s, the United States Air Force recognized a critical gap in its arsenal. Traditional fighters proved expensive and impractical for engaging small groups of guerrilla fighters. This realization sparked a search for an economical and efficient aircraft specifically designed for counterinsurgency operations. The escalating conflict in Vietnam necessitated a specialized counterinsurgency aircraft to replace aging Douglas A-1 Sky Raiders. In late 1962, the United States Air Force's Special Air Warfare Center at Eglin Air Force Base evaluated two T-37C trainers for potential combat roles. Initially, the T-37 Tweet served primarily as a widespread jet trainer. In the early 1950s, Cessna entered the military aviation market with their Model 318, which won a United States Air Force design competition for a jet trainer. This aircraft, designated the T-37 Tweet, featured side-by-side seating that created an ideal teaching environment superior to tandem cockpits. First flying in October 1954, the trainer earned its nickname from the high-pitched squeal produced by its twin French-designed Turbo-Mika J69 engines, often referred to as the 6,000-pound dog whistle. It's a straight Hershey bar wing that forgives novice mistakes, and its wide-track landing gear makes ground handling exceptionally easy. However, military planners recognized its potential for adaptation. The primary challenge was clear. The existing T-37 needed significant modifications to carry greater payloads, achieve extended range, and improve short-field performance for tactical operations. Another factor driving this transformation was pilot familiarity. Younger jet-trained pilots struggled to adapt to the World War II-era A-1 Sky Raider with its radial engine and tail dragger configuration. One pilot admitted that he took 2 rides, and it scared the bejesus out of him. Consequently, converting a familiar training platform into a combat aircraft offered substantial advantages. In 1963, the Air Force awarded Cessna a contract to produce 2 prototype aircraft, designated A-37D. These prototypes underwent extensive modifications from their T-37 origins. Most significantly, the Continental J69 engines were replaced with General Electric J85 turbojet engines, each producing 2,400 pounds of thrust, essentially doubling the aircraft's power. Additional modifications included strengthened wings with multiple ordnance pylons, larger wingtip fuel tanks for extended range, specifically 360 liters capacity, advanced avionics for battlefield communications, reinforced landing gear for rough field operations, installation of a 7.62mm Ju-2BA minigun in the nose, capable of firing 3,000 rounds per minute. The first A-37D prototype completed its maiden flight in October 1964, followed by the second prototype a year later. Subsequently, the second prototype received an additional weapons pylon under each wing, bringing the total to 4 per wing, a configuration later applied to the prototype as well. Following successful testing, the program briefly entered limbo as the United States Air Force's interest in counterinsurgency aircraft temporarily waned. However, as combat losses mounted in Vietnam, interest quickly revived. The Air Force determined that an actual combat evaluation would provide the ultimate validation of the design. Following a successful evaluation, the Air Force ordered a pre-production batch of 39 AT-37Ds, initially designated as AT-37Ds, but later changed to A-37A. Subsequently, the A-37B emerged as a further improved design, with newly built airframes that were considerably stronger than the A-37As, capable of pulling 6 GI instead of 5, and built to have a longer fatigue life of 4,000 hours. The A-37 Dragonfly was specifically engineered to operate from primitive airfields and forward operating bases throughout Vietnam. This capability proved essential for supporting ground forces in remote locations where conventional runways were unavailable. Several design features enabled this short-field performance. The aircraft incorporated thrust attenuators specifically for short-field operations. Additionally, the reinforced landing gear was purposely strengthened to handle the stress of unimproved airstrips and greater landing weights. The A-37B could carry up to 4,800 pounds of ordnance across 8 wing hardpoints. This impressive payload capacity, combined with its ability to operate from austere locations, made the Dragonfly particularly well-suited for close air support missions throughout South Vietnam and southern Laos. Ultimately, the A-37 Dragonfly's design philosophy embraced the KISS principle, or keep it simple, stupid. This approach resulted in an aircraft that performed exceptionally well in its intended role, while maintaining ease of maintenance, a critical factor for sustained operations in challenging combat environments. Beyond its versatile airframe, the Cessna A-37 Dragonfly packed formidable firepower that belied its diminutive size. Transformed from a training aircraft into a deadly attack platform, this super tweet carried an impressive arsenal that made it exceptionally effective in combat operations. The A-37 Dragonfly cockpit underwent extensive modifications to protect its crew in combat environments. Engineers installed armor plating throughout the cockpit area, providing vital protection against ground fire. Moreover, the cockpit interior was lined with nylon flak curtains for additional protection against shrapnel. For improved survivability, designers incorporated redundant elevator control runs placed as far apart as possible to ensure the aircraft remained controllable even if one system was damaged. The ejection seats received armor reinforcement, offering pilots increased protection during high-risk missions over hostile territory. The A-37B further improved upon the A-37A by adding a refueling probe to the nose-updated avionics, a redesigned instrument panel, an automatic engine inlet de-icing system, and revised landing gear. In combat, forward air control operations, the second seat accommodated an observer, whereas close support missions typically required only a single crewman, allowing for a slight increase in ordnance capacity. Throughout its service, pilots praised the A-37 Dragonfly's exceptional maneuverability, noting it could accelerate and decelerate rapidly, while maintaining highly accurate weapons delivery. At the heart of the Dragonfly's offensive capabilities was a 7.62mm GAU-2BA minigun mounted in the nose compartment with 1,200 to 1,500 rounds of ammunition. This fearsome weapon could fire at rates up to 6,000 rounds per minute, though pilots often found it most effective against soft targets rather than penetrating heavy jungle canopy. The aircraft featured 8 reinforced underwing hardpoints, allowing it to carry an impressive array of ordnance. Conventional bombs include 250 pounds of Mark 81, 500 pounds of Mark 82, and 750 pounds of M117. Unguided rocket packs in LAU-3A, LAU-59, or LAU-68. Launchers, napalm tanks, and firebombs. Additional gun pods housing miniguns or 30mm DEFA cannons. AM-9 Sidewinder missiles for air-to-air capability. Overall, the A-37B could carry up to 2,700 pounds of external ordnance, making it a versatile platform for various mission profiles. Pilots could configure the aircraft with different loadouts based on mission requirements, such as 2 machine gun pods, rockets, and 4 bombs, or 2 250-pound bombs or 4 Sidewinder missiles. Consequently, what began as a simple trainer had evolved into a versatile attack aircraft, with a gross takeoff weight of 12,000 pounds, of which 2,700 pounds was ordnance. Perhaps the most distinctive aspect of the A-37's armament was the psychological impact of its minigun. Although some pilots considered it basically a BB pistol in combat, with limited effectiveness against hardened targets, the weapon's distinctive sound and visible effects terrorized enemy forces. Captain Lon Holtz recalled, "I used it once in 350 missions." Another pilot remarked, "Our 7.62 mm wasn't effective. It was like using a hose. You could walk your rounds where you wanted them to go, but it wasn't easy." Radio intercepts revealed that enemy combatants were often confused and frightened by this new weapon system. In many instances, ambushers who encountered the minigun quickly broke off attacks. Eventually, enemy commanders instructed their forces not to engage aircraft equipped with miniguns. The psychological effect became so pronounced that some friendly units began creating fake miniguns from PVC pipes to discourage attacks. As a testament to its deterrent value, units equipped with miniguns found themselves targeted less frequently than those without them, sometimes deliberately concealing their weapons to draw enemy forces into engagement. In August 1967, the United States Air Force embarked on an unprecedented military aviation strategy when it deployed 25 A-37As to Vietnam under Operation Combat Dragon. Unlike traditional aircraft development, the A-37 Dragonfly would undergo its testing directly in combat conditions, an exceptional approach that had never been attempted before. These aircraft were shipped in crates aboard C-141 transport aircraft and assembled on site by Cessna employees. Operation Combat Dragon served as both operational testing and combat evaluation for the A-37 Dragonfly aircraft. Based at Bien Hoa Air Base, the program initially tasked pilots with flying 12 combat sorties daily. This operational tempo accelerated rapidly, reaching 60 sorties per day by September's end. The results proved conclusive. Throughout the evaluation period, the A-37As completed over 4,000 sorties without losing a single aircraft to enemy fire. Only 2 were lost, both due to landing accidents rather than combat damage. By December 1967, after just 5 months of operations, these diminutive warriors had delivered an impressive 19,000 ordnance payloads. This exceptional performance convinced military leadership of the aircraft's combat viability. Accordingly, before Combat Dragon concluded in December 1967, the United States Air Force had already contracted Cessna to produce the improved A-37B variant. The Cessna A-37 Dragonfly performed diverse combat roles throughout its Vietnam service close air support for ground troops, helicopter escort operations, forward air control missions, night interdiction strikes, counter-insurgency operations. These missions primarily covered South Vietnam and southern Laos, focusing on regions where United States ground forces operated. The Dragonfly aircraft's straight-wing configuration allowed attack runs at speeds approximately 100 miles per hour slower than swept-wing fighters. This capability translated to remarkable bombing accuracy, averaging within a 45-foot radius of targets. Forward air controllers particularly appreciated this precision, with one famously exclaiming over an open radio channel, "Thank God now I have somebody who can hit the damn target." As one pilot described it, delivering ordnance in an A-37B was a little like throwing a rock at a fence post, and you didn't need a sight. Throughout the Vietnam War, the A-37 demonstrated extraordinary survivability. In total, the aircraft flew over 160,000 combat sorties, losing merely 22 airframes to combat a remarkably low rate, considering its extensive deployment. The Dragonfly's fearsome reputation developed through numerous combat actions. On November 29, 1967, 2 A-37s saved a besieged Special Forces base at Bu Dap after other aircraft had departed. Flying without lights and engines at idle, they executed a surprise low-altitude attack that killed approximately 200 enemy fighters in a single pass. Several factors contributed to this impressive record. First, the A-37 Dragonfly cockpit featured armor protection and redundant flight controls. Second, its relatively small size, atypical speeds, and low altitude capabilities made it difficult for enemy gunners to target effectively. As pilot Lon Holtz noted, "I climbed in the airplane, flew my first combat mission, got shot at, and immediately figured out they couldn't hit me." Enemy gunners accustomed to leading their aim for faster jets like F-4s and F-100s often fired well ahead of the slower A-37. Pilot Ollie Meyer, who flew over 500 missions, observed, "They were accustomed to leading a certain amount in their aim because the F-4s and F-100s came in high and fast. We'd come in and see their tracers way out in front." Third, pilots often extended mission endurance by flying on a single engine while keeping the second shut down, a technique that preserved fuel without compromising performance. Though initially unsettling, this practice became standard procedure, with pilots always confident they could restart the engine when needed. Lieutenant Colonel Dennis Selvig of the 604th Special Operations Squadron explained, "We had more time on station than the big fighters, and unlike them, we could operate under cloud cover and in tough terrain that might have deterred a larger jet. Furthermore, the aircraft required minimal maintenance, only 2 hours for each flight hour, compared to 12 hours for the McDonnell F-101 Voodoo. This efficiency allowed for rapid turnarounds, sometimes in less than 90 minutes, keeping the aircraft in constant operation." Ultimately, the A-37 Dragonfly Vietnam experience validated the light attack concept. Veterans specifically noted that throughout its service, not a single A-37 mission resulted in friendly fire casualties, a testament to its precision and control in combat environments. Following the Vietnam War, the A-37 Dragonfly found new life beyond American service. First introduced to foreign militaries in the 1970s, the compact attack aircraft spread globally, becoming particularly prevalent throughout Latin America, where its capabilities matched regional security needs. After South Vietnam's collapse in 1975, North Vietnamese forces captured approximately 95 intact A-37B Dragonflies. Unlike many captured American weapons that were mothballed or scrapped, the Communist forces recognized the Dragonfly's value. The Vietnam People's Air Force rapidly integrated these aircraft into their inventory. On April 28, 1975, in a historic and audacious mission, a flight of captured A-37's, led by a former South Vietnamese pilot, who was a communist agent, bombed Tan Son Nhut Air Base, delivering a final demoralizing blow to the Saigon regime. Ironically, these former American warplanes soon found themselves flying missions against their original manufacturer's allies. Throughout the late 1970s, these captured Dragonflies participated in border conflicts and counterinsurgency operations against Cambodian forces, proving their versatility even under new management. Throughout the 1970s and 1980s, these versatile platforms transitioned to observation forward air control roles, with American forces receiving the new designation OA-37B. Notably, Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve units operated these aircraft until the last one was officially retired in 1992. Before retirement, OA-37's from the 24th Tactical Air Support Squadron saw action during Operation Just Cause, the 1989 United States invasion of Panama. As of 2022, 6 Latin American nations maintain operational Dragonfly aircraft fleets. Colombia operates 14 modified aircraft capable of delivering GBU-12 Paveway 2 laser-guided bombs. El Salvador maintains 13 operational units. Guatemala keeps 3 aircraft in service. Honduras has 9 active Dragonflies. Peru operates 20 aircraft, including 8 units donated by South Korea in 2010. Uruguay maintains 7 aircraft in service. Meanwhile, former operators, including Chile, Ecuador, South Korea, Thailand, and the United States, have retired their fleets. South Korea notably operated the Cessna A-37 Dragonfly with their Black Eagles aerobatic team until 2007. Throughout Central and South America, the A-37 Dragonfly served extensively in numerous regional conflicts. During the Salvadoran Civil War, the El Salvador Air Force received 21 A-37Bs and 9 OA-37Bs as replacements for aging Dassault Oregons. Throughout this conflict, The aircraft faced significant combat challenges. One was lost in November 1989 when sniper fire killed the co-pilot, and another fell to an SA-7 missile in November 1990. Likewise, the Guatemalan Air Force deployed the aircraft against insurgent forces throughout the 1970s, 1990s, losing one airframe in combat operations in 1985. Further, South Ecuador and Peru both utilized their Dragonfly fleets during their border conflict in 1995. Honduran A-37's also bombed rebels in Nicaragua. The A-37 Dragonfly cockpit and operational characteristics made it ideally suited for counter-narcotics operations across Latin America. Its combination of affordability, simplicity, and effectiveness against illicit targets established it as the preferred platform for these specialized missions. For countries like Uruguay, the aircraft primarily serves in aerial policing roles against illicit flights crossing borders between larger neighbors Brazil and Argentina. Its ability to operate from austere conditions, including military tents and 19th-century fortresses, demonstrates the platform's remarkable flexibility for countries with limited infrastructure. Moreover, Colombia's decision to upgrade its aircraft with precision-guided munitions capabilities underscores the A-37 Dragonfly's ongoing relevance in modern counter-narcotics operations. These modifications have extended the type's service life far beyond original expectations, allowing it to remain effective against evolving threats. Behind every successful combat aircraft stands a maintenance crew. Yet ground technicians rarely receive much recognition. Surprisingly, the A-37 Dragonfly earned universal praise from maintenance personnel throughout its service life. According to Crew Chief Bill McCall, the 2-to-1 ratio of maintenance to flying hours was fantastic. An F-101 was something like 12-to-1. Give me 2 A-37s and I could keep them flying day and night. Cessna's engineers designed the Dragonfly aircraft around a walk-around maintenance philosophy, featuring multiple access panels strategically positioned throughout the airframe. This thoughtful design allowed ground crews to perform rapid servicing between missions. Remarkably, technicians could replace an entire engine in less than an hour, though the A-37 Dragonfly aircraft required jacking up to drop an engine due to its low stance. The aircraft's low profile created challenges with foreign objects on runways. To address this, engineers equipped the A-37 Dragonfly with hydraulically actuated intake screens that filtered debris before it could damage the engines. After missions, maintenance crews would clear these screens of stone sticks and assorted vegetation. Maintenance officer Charlie Krasig regularly recalled cleaning out grass and tree limbs from underneath the A-37s after low-altitude attacks. Turnaround times often averaged just 90 minutes between combat sorties, enabling the impressive operational tempo demonstrated in Vietnam. The Cessna A-37 Dragonfly epitomized the KISS principle, keep it simple, stupid. Former Staff Sergeant Frederick Neumann noted it required little of the fancy high-tech maintenance needed by more sophisticated warplanes like the F-4 Phantom II. Primarily, 3 factors contributed to its cost-effectiveness. Minimal maintenance requirements, 2 hours per flight hour, versus 12 for comparable fighters. Single-engine cruise capability that conserved fuel while maintaining operational effectiveness. Straightforward systems that technicians could service without specialized equipment. The A-37 Dragonfly cockpit and overall systems proved well-suited for air forces with limited resources. Unlike complex fourth-generation fighters, the aircraft required minimal infrastructure investment. This simplicity extended to pilot training requirements, a critical consideration for nations with smaller training pipelines. For developing nations, the Dragonfly aircraft offered operational advantages without burdensome maintenance requirements. Its ability to operate from primitive airfields made it particularly valuable in regions lacking extensive aviation infrastructure. Despite flying 68 471 missions between 1967 and 1974, veterans who piloted the A-37 Dragonfly often found themselves marginalized in military aviation history. Their stories reveal an overlooked legacy that deserves recognition. Vietnam's heavy metal aircraft, the McDonnell F-4, North American F-100, and Republic F-105, garnered media attention and career advancement opportunities. Meanwhile, A-37 pilots faced a glass ceiling that limited promotions. As Distinguished Flying Cross recipient Robert Macaluso noted, "If credit means promotions, he's right. A-37 pilots do not lead the league. Even experienced pilots struggled with the career stigma as you weren't accepted as a real fighter pilot." Unlike their high-profile counterparts, A-37 operations remained confined to South Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia, never venturing into heavily defended North Vietnam, where media coverage was concentrated. This operational pattern kept them away from the spotlight, even as they provided crucial support to ground forces. The A-37's maintenance efficiency became legendary. Its straightforward approach earned the aircraft nicknames like Mattel Marauders and Super Tweet labels that, though diminutive, highlighted its surprising effectiveness. Pilot John Martel recounted a November 1967 mission where two A-37s saved a base under attack. They killed over 200 of them on one run. After eliminating the initial threat, they returned to destroy gun emplacements, with bombs ultimately earning Martel a Silver Star. Generally, veterans maintain that they never killed or wounded a friendly by mistake, a testament to the precision and professionalism that defined their overlooked service. Surprisingly, the core concept behind the A-37 Dragonfly remains relevant in modern warfare. Since the early 2000s, military planners have recognized the need for cost-effective light attack aircraft for counterinsurgency operations, precisely the role the Dragonfly pioneered. The United States Air Force's Light Attack Experiment program essentially sought to recreate the Dragonfly's capabilities in a modern platform. Aircraft like the A-29 Super Tucano and AT-6 Wolverine represent spiritual successors to the humble Dragonfly, carrying forward its legacy of affordable precision firepower for counterinsurgency operations.